What's up YouTube? I'm Thomas from ratings.com. Today we're checking out the Razer DeathAdder V3 Mini, the newest edition.
Thomas, it isn't called that.
What?
It isn't the Mini, it's the HyperSpeed.
Why? Alright, well, today we're reviewing the Razer DeathAdder V3 HyperSpeed, the newest addition to one of Razer's longest running lineups of gaming mice. And even though it's got little legs, can it keep up? Let's find out. The overall design looks very similar if you're familiar with Razer's DeathAdder V3 Pro. It's just a little bit smaller overall. It has a sleek, minimalist vibe with subtle curves, and a pale gray logo on the palm rest identifies it as a gaming mouse. Its supportive right-handed shape is identical to its bigger sibling. The scaled down size makes it a bit more comfortable for palm and claw grips, especially if you have smaller hands. The side buttons are now spaced a little bit further apart too. The only shape difference is the front edge of the right side of the mouse, which flares out quite a bit. This can help you lock into your grip a bit more, but could potentially cause a pressure point on your ring finger if you have bigger hands. As for colors, you can have it in any color you like, just so long as it's black. The mouse comes in at 53.5 grams, nearly 10 grams lighter than its bigger sibling. That's a noticeable difference, and it'll help you flick and stop on a dime faster and easier than ever. The weight reduction is mostly thanks to it using an internal rechargeable battery instead of a disposable AA battery, which is typically what Razer's HyperSpeed models use. Its lightness doesn't come at the expense of build quality. Its body is made of thin-feeling plastic, but it feels solid and doesn't flex, creak, or rattle when you shake it. The soft touch coating feels grippy and nice in your hands. With that said, Razer did some cost cutting on the charging cable. It's fairly short and made of a stiff and cheap-feeling rubber. It has a bunch of kinks from its packaging and is heavier than other, more premium Razer mice. But considering this is a wireless mouse first and foremost, you probably won't use the cable for anything but charging anyway. On the bottom, there are two big old high-quality skates that glide super smoothly across your mouse pad or even on your desk. It uses the same optical Gen 3 switches that are on Razer's more expensive mice, including the DeathAdder V3 Pro. The switch implementation is pretty solid, resulting in clicks that feel clicky and satisfying. Plus, optical switches are supposed to last longer to boot since they operate using light. The HyperSpeed uses a new sensor, the Focus X26K. It's marketed as a lower-end sensor compared to the Pro model's Focus 30K sensor and notably lacks the motion sync feature. That said, the sensor delivers top-of-the-line performance that measures even better than the Pro. It has a 1000 Hz maximum polling rate right out of the box, but it supports Razer's HyperSpeed dongle, sold separately, that increases the polling rate to 8000 Hz. We measured an outstanding 1.6 milliseconds of click latency wirelessly. We also ran some tests with the hyperpolling dongle and found the click latency averaged at 1.1 milliseconds and 8000 Hz. What this all means is the latency is completely imperceptible and it's all up to you to click on heads as fast as you can. Even at 1000 Hz, its sensor's latency is incredible, and it reacts nearly instantaneously to your movements. Like with click latency, we also tested it with the hyperpolling dongle, and the latency was slightly lower at 4000 Hz, with no improvements at higher polling rates than that. Like with any high polling rate mouse, there are diminishing returns at higher polling rates, since it uses significantly more battery and processing power for no perceptible advantage, although it's technically better. Like every other Razer mouse, this one also uses Synapse, unfortunately. It has all the features you need to adjust your mouse settings, like CPI, polling rates, binds, profiles, and more. That said, it's a RAM hog and requires a ton of large updates, but you have to live with it if you want to adjust any of your mouse's settings. Since this mouse has onboard memory, you could save all of your settings for the mouse and uninstall Synapse afterwards if you don't want to deal with it. On the other hand, the HyperSpeed introduces a couple of novel features in Synapse that you might want to play around with before you uninstall it, such as a rotation tool and dynamic sensitivity. The rotation tool lets you adjust for the angle that you hold the mouse, which is helpful if you find yourself compensating for horizontal movement due to how you naturally hold your mouse. Dynamic sensitivity is a tool that lets you set a curve that automatically shifts between low and high CPI sensitivity based on how fast you move your mouse. So, should you buy the Razer DeathAdder V3 HyperSpeed? It should absolutely be on your shortlist if you're looking for an ergo mouse that's on the smaller side. There are a lot of right-handed ergo mice on the market, but it's hard to compete with Razer's precision manufacturing, features, and outright performance. Despite it being significantly cheaper than its bigger sibling, the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro, it offers even better performance in a smaller and lighter package. That said, shape is the most important thing when choosing a mouse, and the Pro is a better pick if you have larger hands. If you're willing to venture into a less prolific brand, the Pulsar X-Lite V3 Mini is an excellent option with a similar shape. But it's slightly more rounded, forgoes the Razer's flared outer edge, and doesn't get in the way of your ring finger. Plus, you don't have to deal with synapse. Well, that's it for our Razer DeathAdder V3 HyperSpeed review. If you feel like digging into the numbers further, check out the full written review in the link below. Until next time, I'm Thomas from ratings.com, where we help you find the best product for your needs. Dynamic sensitivity is a tool that lets you set a curve that automatically shifts between low and high CPI sensitivity based on how fast you move your mouse.
Let's run it back. Giving myself cues now. It's great. I'm the director.